Hi everyone, hope you're doing well today. We are starting a new series today, playing Slay the Spire. This is episode 1, of course. I'm Mark, and Slay the Spire is a roguelike card game wherein you attempt to ascend the tower and kill the various monsters within, gaining treasure and cards along the way. And the game supports 3 play modes. You have standard mode where you pick one of the 3 available characters. You have a daily climb, which gives you a preset set of characters and challenge setup for the climb. And there's a daily leaderboard for that. And as you can see, it's the end of January, and so this is the day's leaderboard and the day's challenge. And there's also a custom mode where you can go through, pick the character, set your ascension level, which is sort of how far you've made it in the tower, pick a map seed, and then set a whole bunch of different modifiers to your game. And, you know, that's yet another way to play. But the basic gameplay is always the same. And I'm going to go ahead and start a quick game with the Ironclad to show you the basics of the game. You start by talking to this, I guess he's a weird whale creature, and we're going to talk to him. And he gives you the option of adjusting your starting sort of setup with various changes. And so every character has potion slots, you have a bag of gold, you have some life, and you always start with 1 relic. And this relic heals us for 6 hit points at the end of each combat we do. And so we can lose that relic and obtain a new one. We can lose 8 max hit points, so our max hit points go to 72, and transform 2 of our cards. We can get 3 random potions, or we can obtain a random colorless uncommon card. I'm going to go ahead and add a card to our deck, and, you know, that is one of the options we have. So I'm going to go ahead and start the game so we can take a look at the map. And right now, by the way, I'm running with the mouse. This game does have full controller support, which is what I'm probably going to use when we're actually playing. But I want to show you how things work before we get going. So we have the map, and this is the first level of the tower, and there are a bunch of sort of parallel paths that lead you up to the top where we face our final boss. And there are 3 levels to the tower, so once we finish this map, we have 2 more to go. And within the map, there are several kinds of encounters. There are sort of basic fights, which are just you go, you kill some monsters, you get some rewards. There are the mystery rooms, which can have everything from monster fights to boss fights to merchants to random encounters with strange beings who offer you presents or penalties. And there are also merchants which will sell you stuff and also let you remove a card from your deck. And they sell cards, they sell potions for your potion slot, they also sell relics. And the final... Oh, there's 2 more actually. There are rest areas which let you rest and recover, I think it's a third of your hit points, maybe it's 25%. And there are things that can modify what you can do there. The other thing you can do always in a rest area is upgrade one of your cards. And that's an either or choice. You can either rest or you can upgrade. And then we have boss fights, which are tougher combat scenarios that always offer you a relic as a reward. And the relics are pretty important. I've had this whole top bar filled with relics before. You definitely want relics because they all have a unique effect, and most of the time they're beneficial. There are a couple that you can get from these mystery rooms that are not beneficial, but for the most part, they're a positive thing. Oh, there's also treasure chests, and the treasure chests reward you with a relic as well. So plenty of ways to get relics, and you can sort of choose your starting area and then work your way through the maze, picking the path that gives you, sort of the encounters that you want. You don't have complete free choice because you do have to follow the paths. And eventually, once you get through all that, you end up at the boss fight, which is sort of the toughest fight in the level. And once you have defeated the boss, you move on to the next level of the tower, or the spire, I should say, and start the whole process over. So my plan for this is to go ahead and run through one run at least with each character, and hopefully one of those runs will lead us to a victory against the tower. I'm not going to guarantee we're going to beat the tower because it can be pretty hard, and this is a roguelike, so if you die on the way up, you're dead. That ends your session for that particular run. And I have beat the tower in with each character so far, at least a couple times. So, it's certainly doable. And the reason I like this game is, unlike the other games I've sort of been playing in this channel, Minecraft and Path of Exile are both pretty big time commitments if you want to sort of delve into the depths of the game. You can play through Slay the Spire. Yeah, I guess my usual runs are, an hour and a half, something like that, to go through all 3 levels. There's a speedrun achievement, which I think is complete the Spire in 20 minutes. So I guess that's sort of the bottom of the speed run that you can get. I don't do speed runs. I'm not that fast a player, so don't expect to see that here. I guess the last thing I want to talk about before we get going is the cards. And the way you get cards is you start with sort of this basic deck, and you can see there's the trip that we added, which applies a debuff to enemies. You generally start with sort of 5 basic attacks and some basic defense, and sort of at least a special attack or a special ability. And each of the 3 characters has a different type of cards. The Ironclad, as you can see, is pretty much, he hits stuff with a sword and he blocks with a shield, and he's sort of the melee guy. And the cards reflect that. So we're mostly going to be getting melee cards as we start with this, the Ironclad, and the other 2 characters each have their own flavors, which we'll talk about when we start those runs. So as I said, my plan is do one run with each character, see how far we get, and hopefully at least one of those runs will take us through the entire tower. So give me a minute to switch over to controller and make sure I'm ready to go, and I will be right back. Okay, I am back. I have my controller in my hands, and I am ready to head for the Spire. And I think with this guy, what I normally do is sort of focus on combat, and I don't know that I want to go completely like this path, which if we sort of go right up this path would be straight combat most of the way. I think I'm going to take this path because this will give us 2 fights and then a mystery room and then a merchant right within reach. So I think this is where we'll start, and let's just go ahead and dive into a fight. The early battles are pretty easy. So you can scroll up and down through here to see sort of scroll through the interface and see what's what. By default, each enemy will show you their intention, and you can look at those, and sort of red weapons are always they're attacking, and the green swirls are always they're going to inflict something on you. So we don't really want to take any damage, so we're going to block that attack, and then we're going to we'll just go ahead and apply vulnerable and hit this guy. And over on the left there, you can see we have 2 of 3 energy left, and that is sort of what limits how many cards we can play. Card play is pretty straightforward. You can see on the right, we have our discard pile, which is where our hand goes as we discard it, and also the cards we play go. For the most part, you can also exhaust cards, which sort of takes them out of play for the current combat. And on the left, we have our draw pile. And, we only have 7 or, I guess we have 10 cards. So, not huge piles at the moment. So let's go ahead and do this. And we are done because you can see that we're out of energy. So let's go ahead and just let the enemies do their turn. And we've blocked the damage. And you can see that block goes down, and then at the beginning of your turn you lose all your block. So I'm going to apply vulnerable to this guy. I'm going to go ahead and finish this slime off so we don't have to worry about him anymore. And I'm going to deal attack damage, and we could block, but it doesn't do any good, so we will just end the turn. And I am going to go ahead and bash him, and I'm going to block. And our block has been reduced because they inflicted a condition on us. And so that's why we're getting less block. And it's not too bad. He's going to do 8 damage. We're going to block 3, leaving us with 5, because remember, our relic heals us at the end of the combat. And you just saw that attack put a card in our discard pile, which is sort of basically taking up space in our deck. And we're not going to see that come up, but in longer fights, those become a problem. So there's our first potion, which gives us a short-term strength buff, and we can gain a new card. So let's see what we have. We don't exhaust any cards yet, and this does damage to all enemies, which is kind of useful. It also applies vulnerability, and then Body Slam, which is just going to let us block and then basically do damage based on our block. I think I'm going to go for vulnerable or Thunderclap, because that gives us a global attack. And we don't have a choice where to go in our map, so we're just going to head on with the next combat. And here we have a single foe who is going to attack and probably hurt us, because I don't know if we're going to have... I'm going to go ahead and block again, minimize the damage we take. But we did get a strike in there too. So we took 1 damage, and this turn he's going to do some sort of buff to himself. And, yeah. So we're going to do damage, and then we're going to... Well, let's go ahead and stack up more vulnerable on him. Alright, he's going to do a big attack, so let's do a big... Let's go ahead and fully block this. He's got his shield up anyhow, so we'd have to get past his block before we could do any damage. That's free. I think we'll be able to kill him. Yeah, because see, ordinarily this card is doing 6 damage, but because he's got vulnerability on it, it upgrades it to 9. So we can kill that easily. We heal to full health again because we only took 1 damage. And let's see what our options are here. So here's a card that gives us energy and gets exhausted when it's used, which means it's removed to the end of combat. Deal a lot of damage and draw a card. And Rampage, which deals a lot of damage and then increases this card's damage for the rest of this combat. So this is like a card that escalates its damage as we play, and that's actually a pretty decent card, so I'm going to take that. Next up we have a mystery room, and I'm going to go ahead and explore that. And we can gain a golden idol or ignore it, and of course we're going to obtain the golden idol, and this inflicts a curse on us. So we can either lose max hit points, which I really don't want to do. We can take some damage, which might be okay, or we take an injury card, which is a curse, which is basically a dead card in your deck. I think I'm going to smash and go ahead and take the damage, and we'll leave. So let me look at the golden idol. The enemies drop 25% more gold, so that makes our visits to the merchants more useful. And here is our first merchant encounter. So as you can see, he offers a bunch of cards to us, and he also sells relics, and you can see here's some of the relics that we can pick up. Unfortunately, we can't afford any of these, and we can also remove a card, which I'm not really concerned about right now. And I think I will go ahead and pick up Flex, which is just a short-term strength buff. Lasts one turn, and strength directly increases the damage we do with our melee attacks. And yeah, sure, let's go ahead and pick that up too. So we have choice of paths here, whether we want to go into a combat or we want to do a mystery room. I think what I'm going to do is the combat, because if this is a relatively easy one, we can heal 6 damage before we get to the inevitable boss fight, because both paths lead to a boss fight. So let's go this way. And we have no block, so let's try and kill this guy off. We do. And then let's go ahead and try and kill this. And these particular monsters do this curl up, which the first time they take damage, they put up a shield. Or put up block, I should say. So we have to work past the block, so we're not quite going to kill this guy, but next turn we should be able to do it no problem. And it casts strength on itself. So we definitely want to kill that, and we do. And we look at our card deck, and it's definitely not a bad time to get some more block in our hand. So let's go ahead and take Shrug off. And we are at our first boss fight. So taking a quick look at this boss's special ability, he metallicizes, which means automatically it gets 8 block at the end of its turn, and it starts with 8 block. And I'm pretty sure metallicize, every time you do damage, it drops the level of metallicize, but you have to get past the block first. So let's go ahead and start with a trip, apply some vulnerable so we do more damage. We'll do 2 attacks. And, I guess metallicize isn't the one that I was thinking of. We'll go ahead and strike it and do some more damage. And we could block, but it doesn't matter because it's stunned and not doing anything this turn. And you can see right away, bosses do a lot more damage than anything else. So I am going to block quite a bit here. And I'm going to apply vulnerable, even though that was lower damage. So we are going to take damage in this fight, but we do have a rest area coming up. So we'll gain 8 block. Alright, now we'll use our flex and go ahead and rampage and deal more damage. So we're going to take, more damage. Ouch. Alright, this turn it is not attacking, so let's just go. And there's our rampage card back, and as you can see, this time it's doing 13 damage, which wasn't enough. And it has just debuffed us with a nasty debuff that is reducing both our strength and our dex, so we're blocking less than we should, and we're doing less damage than we should. So I'm going to go ahead and use our biggest damage card and keep applying vulnerable to this thing. The debuffs do count down each turn. You can see it's at 2 now, but it just dropped to 1, so let's go ahead and shrug it off. Apply more vulnerable. Apply strength to us, and then deal damage as much as we can. And hopefully next turn we'll be able to kill it, because this guy's hurting a lot. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so anytime you kill a boss, you get some gold, and you get a relic. And this relic, if your hit point is full, gain energy at the start of your turn. Our hit points are not full, so that's not going to apply, but it will in the future. Deal 6 damage. Deal 2 additional damage for all your cards containing strike. That's actually pretty good, because we have quite a few strikes in our deck. Let's see. Yeah, see, all those are strike, and we have twin strike down there. So that's going to deal quite a bit of damage. So I'm tempted to take Iron Wave, which gives us block and does damage at the same time, but I think Perfected Strike is a better choice. So let's go ahead and be offensive. Alright, we reach our first rest area, and we are definitely resting, and we do heal for 30% of our hit points. So we'll be at 53. And that's it for the rest area. So as you can see, you kind of have to pick and choose your boss battle fights with care, because they can be quite nasty and kill you. Alright, on to the next regular fight. I'm going to go ahead and block again. That's too bad. So there's our Perfected Strike, and it's going to deal 20 damage. Unfortunately, we don't have enough energy to use it, so we will just use a regular strike. We'll go ahead and block. Apply vulnerable. Oh, well. We don't really care about flex because we can't attack. And we have 10 block, which is plenty to block his attack, so we don't need to spend any more cards. And we have no defense, so we may as well maximize our offense. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use our steroid potion to maximize our damage, since we're definitely doing pure damage this turn. And we're actually going to kill him, so no block necessary. And we gained our life, so we get a block potion, which is handy, and we get the choice to pick up another card. Play the top card of your draw pile and exhaust it. I think we want more block. I sense a weakness in our defense so far. Okay, this is a chest room, and the only thing in a chest room is a chest. And oh, that's nice. At the beginning of each combat, we're going to heal 2 hit points. So healing on the Ironclad always seems useful. So we're going to face a boss fight no matter what. And I think I want to go up this left path because either this one or this one, because there's a rest area ahead. An extra rest area, I should say. There's always at least one rest area before the boss, the final boss. So I'm going to go this way, and I think I'll do the unknown room. I don't know that I want gold that much, so I'm going to go ahead and disagree, which basically is a null event. Let's go ahead and do our next fight. And here is a giant slime, and the slime has a cool power in that once you reduce it to 50% or less hit points, it splits into 2 slimes, which I thought was a pretty cool little mechanic. Our plan here is to do as much damage as possible, and I applied our flex, and we're going to go ahead and hit it again. And that's actually a pretty good place to stop, because when you force a split, it also causes the slime to abort whatever action it's doing. So let's go ahead and do, again, as much damage as possible. And you can see that we interrupted it. So now it's confused, and what it's going to do is split. And you can see now that it has 23 hit points less, so on its turn it's going to split into 2 smaller slimes, each with 23 hit points. So you can get really lucky there and basically take very little damage from slimes if you time that correctly, and kill them pretty effectively. I'm going to go ahead and apply vulnerable and go ahead and attack this guy. And yeah, we may as well block some more. Try and minimize our damage as much as possible so we can recover more hit points. Let's go ahead and thunderclap. I don't think we're going to be able to kill. I think I want to do some damage here and then block with the last. We're going to take 5 points of damage, but we heal more than that at the end of the turn. Alright, so we definitely want to... Doesn't really matter, that's going to kill him. We're going to take more damage, unfortunately. I should have killed the other slime off. We're going to take more damage than we should. The other slime was only doing 5 or 7 damage, so... But we can kill this one, cover some life, and pick a card. Yeah, sure, we'll try Infernal Blade. Well, this is probably going to hurt. Alright, so we need to make sure... So, a couple things to note here. All of these enemies have Artifact, which the first time we debuff them, it's not going to take. It's basically a debuff block. So I am going to go ahead and... Wow, we have no defensive skills at all already. So I'm going to debuff him. And then I'm just going to start working on killing these guys off. And I'm going to go ahead and spend that and see what we get. Deal 2 damage 4 times, so, you know, not a huge value, but worth seeing. And then we just keep focusing. And my goal here is to focus fire down sort of the weakest member of the enemy party. And we definitely want to block, but we want to block efficiently, so let's do that and that. And you know, let's totally block here. Boring. Let's go ahead and deal damage to everyone, and this will wipe out any remaining artifact on the enemy. We'll go ahead and deal damage to him. And you can see they're adding all those dazed cards into our inventory, which is about to bite us. Alright, so let's go ahead and kill you, and then start to work on our next weakest enemy. And we're going to take more damage this time. Ooh, I could have used my block potion there. Kind of saving that for the final boss fight. And you can see we can't use these cards, so we have nothing left to do. And they do disappear instead of getting discarded. That's not true for all of those kinds of cards. At this point, we're pretty much just whittling these guys down. We're just going to kill him. None of these other cards are playable or useful. We will block, and we will bash. And we should be able to kill this guy off relatively quickly now, because they do alternate between sort of doing that debuff and attacking, so we can just too short. We will kill it next turn, unless we do like all days cards or something in our hand. Nope. There we go. And that was a boss fight, so we do get another relic, which gives us starting strength. We get a potion, which we will happily take, and we get a card. Deal 13 damage, apply weak and vulnerable. That is a nice card. I don't really like losing hit points for powers, so let's go ahead and take Uppercut. And I do want to take this rest area and go ahead and rest up. I'm going to go ahead and take the mystery. Oh, you know, and for 35 gold, I'm going to go ahead and heal, which puts us almost at max. And so at the next rest area, rather than resting, I'm going to go ahead and smith and upgrade one of our cards. And I think what I want to look at is... yeah, I think I'm going to upgrade Rampage, because having a card that ramps up like that constantly is really useful. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade this. And that is our rest area. So we have 77 of 80 hit points as we go into the boss fight. We do have a couple potions, which I have to remember to use. And let's face the boss. So the boss is not doing anything at the moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trip it, and I'm going to rampage on it because we want that rampage card to get used as much as possible. And then we're going to do 12 damage each. And I think I will go ahead and use Infernal Blade because whatever we draw is going to cost 0, which means we can use it. And this isn't bad because we only have attack cards in our hand, so we're not exhausting anything. And we're going to deal 17 damage, which is nice. Nice chunk of damage. And let's go ahead and move on, see what this creature is going to do. And it's going to do something really horrible. 7 times 6 damage, which is a lot. So I am going to block as much as I can. I happen to know that this attack is like this boss's big deal. So we work our way up to 30 block, and we're still going to take damage, but not an awful amount. Since this is the final fight of the level, we do get our full life back at the end of this fight if we survive. So I'm going to go ahead and block. I will bash to apply some vulnerable, and then that's it. And this guy does apply burn every time it hits, so we have all offensive cards. So I'm going to go ahead and flex, and then just whack this guy as many times as possible, and take some damage. And there is one of those unplayable cards that he's been shooting our way, which is unfortunate because it means we're going to take damage. I'm going to go ahead and use that and that. Oh, shoot. I didn't want to do that. Oh, well. This is the 2-point card. I was foolish. I was going to exhaust all the cards, which would have gotten rid of this status. But we're going to take the damage. Alright, it is not attacking us, so let's go ahead and do as much offense as possible. Which isn't a whole lot, actually. Oh, that's too bad. I shouldn't have done that. Our rampage went by without us using it. Let's go ahead and 21 damage, or, you know, I'm going to apply weak because that'll reduce the amount of damage it's going to do to us, and then I'm going to go ahead and block. We're stuck with doing as much damage as possible, so let's really do as much damage as possible. I think we're doing okay. I think we're going to survive this. And saying that, I face off against a really big attack. So let's stack up our defense as much as possible this turn. The one thing the Ironclad doesn't have is it doesn't have a lot of sort of passive defense or passive offense, which other classes do. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go ahead and rampage, and I'm going to go ahead and thunderclap. And I should have done those in the different order, but that's okay. Yeah, we're getting pretty close to the end here. We are doing more damage to it than it is doing to us. 36. We're not going to be able to kill it, I don't think. That's 26. Oh yeah, I think we can kill it. No, we can't kill it. I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, you know, I'm just going to do all the damage I can. Because this turn we can kill it no matter what. Unless we draw absolutely no offensive cards. Kill it with an uppercut. So we pick up some gold, we add a card, and these cards are usually better quality. Double tap is actually quite useful. We will proceed, and the next thing we get is we get a choice of boss relics. So we can upgrade our Burning Blood and heal 10 hit points per combat. We can get an extra relic from all the elite fights, or we can save our life when we die. And this is a tough choice. Lizard Tail versus Black Blood. Healing 10, that's a nice buff, but avoiding death is also a nice buff, especially for some of the later boss fights that are just brutal. I fear I must take Lizard Tail. And now we're on to the next act, wherein we have a whole new map to go through to get to the second boss. I'm going to go ahead and call the episode there. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. Leave me a comment about what you saw if you want to, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.